And we're waiting for the confirmation.
You're live.
We are live now. Thank you. Welcome everybody to another live COVID City Council meeting. Today is August 25th, 2020. Madam Clerk.
Prior to roll call, the city attorney would like to make an announcement regarding the teleconferencing procedures of the meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The procedures adopted for this meeting meet or exceed the standards set forth in the Governor's Order number N-25-20, which allows public meetings like this one to be held by teleconference to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. And now please conduct roll call, and I'll ask the mayor to recognize me afterwards to confirm certain matters for the record.
Councilmember Hudson.
Here.
Councilmember Alone.
Here.
Councilmember Perkins.
Here.
Vice Mayor Safar.
Here.
And Mayor Clarkson.
Here. Martin, it's all yours again.
Thank you. I will now read off 3 statements and ask the council to raise their hands if they believe that all 3 of these statements are true. All members of the council can hear me well. Number 2, all members of the council have been able to hear all previous speakers, including the roll call. And number 3, that each council member believes, based on facial or voice recognition, that everyone representing themselves to be a council member is in fact a council member. I see 4, 5 hands. I will now turn it over to the mayor with the reminder that all votes taken during this meeting must be done by roll call.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Item 2, Pledge of Allegiance.
I'd like to ask for our Vice Mayor, Sabina Safar, if she could lead us in the pledge.
Right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sabina. Madam Clerk.
Item 3, announcements. 3.1, changes and additions to the agenda. We have none. Item 3.2, if you would like to speak under public comment or on an item on the agenda, please click the raise your hand button on your screen or *9 on your telephone. Item 3.3, boards, committee, and commission meetings. There's a list of any upcoming meetings that can be found on the city's website, and you can subscribe to those pages. Item 4, public comment.
Public comment is a time for anybody in the audience to address the council and the city on any topic that is not on the agenda. We ask that you speak for 3 minutes or less. Madam Clerk, has anybody indicated a desire to speak?
I have one written comment for public comment, as well as it looks like we have one attendee that would also like to speak under this item.
Let's go with the written comment in case anybody else decides to get brave and talks. Go ahead.
Okay. So the first or the only written public comment for item 4.1 is good evening, Honorable Mayor, elected council and staff. My name is Mark Kindleberger, a citizen of Stockton, and tonight representing Schneider Electric. As a LEED Platinum partner, we watch as many cities question public safety, and we feel as your economic development has become economic survival. Despite the whiplash of urgent, unpredicted challenges, the rebuilding of resilient economic base must be considered in parallel to solving current health, safety, and revenue threats. Generate new revenue and sustain revenue for decades. One solution includes high-speed Wi-Fi 6 broadband to every citizen, business, and school in the city limits. The economic, education, and social impact can change your city's trajectory for generations. My team is asking to engage with the city elected and staff in an open and frank discussion of possibilities on our dime. Please reach out to me. Thank you. And the attendee is Audrey Nguyen.
Hello, Audrey.
Hello, council members. My name is Audrey, and I'm a rising senior at Doherty Valley High School. I would like to bring to your attention the air and noise pollution caused by gas lawn tools. I believe that gas-powered lawn equipment often flies under the radar due to its underestimated numbers and its positive role in maintaining the city's appearance. However, they significantly disturb public health and well-being. In the state of California, the population of gas lawn tools exceeds that of passenger cars. Furthermore, the number of air pollutants emitted by gas-powered leaf blowers and lawnmowers exceed pollutant emissions from large automobiles. Their two-stroke engines release a number of harmful toxic pollutants into the air that increase carcinogen exposure in the community. I became aware of this issue after I found myself holding my breath every morning on my way to school to avoid the noxious fumes released in the tailgate emissions of the gas equipment around Bellingham Park. Not only does gas lawn machinery pollute the air, it also produces solid and toxic waste in the form of oil, cleansers, filters, and spark plugs. To top it all off, these tools are not energy efficient. They produce high friction and heat, making them only 20 to 40% efficient. With regards to noise, the Contra Costa noise policy only permits 60 to 70 dB in residential areas. Additionally, according to the San Ramon Land Use Compatibility Chart, noise levels above 70 dB are generally unacceptable in almost all the land categories. Yet gas lawn tools, which chart from 70 to 100 dB, are used everywhere. With everyone working from home during this time, I'm sure that many community members see eye to eye with me on this issue, especially as seen with the numerous complaints on Nextdoor. The noise is a massive disturbance to all homeworkers, and the particle kickup and emissions should not be what we are breathing in while taking a walk outdoors. A step in the right direction can be banning gas lawn tools in residential areas to preserve peace. A long-term and sustainable goal should be to phase out gas lawn tools entirely by bringing in zero-emission battery electric equipment. These alternatives release no toxic gases, clock in at around 60 dB, produce no waste, and are 90% efficient. Numerous lawn equipment manufacturers produce battery electric models with capabilities that are close, if not on par, with their gas counterparts. A number of cities in California have banned gas leaf blowers, and some have entirely banned gas lawn tools. A ban is possible and necessary for the health of the environment and the residents. Last year, I created an environmental nonprofit called Debunk 2031 to bring awareness to the issue. Please check out the website debunk2031.org for more information, as well as the meaning behind the name. I can be contacted via the website for any reason to further the cause. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Audrey. Appreciate this very much. Madam Clerk, has anybody else spoken?
We have no additional requests to speak.
Then I will close public comment.
Item 5, consent calendar.
Items on the consent calendar are all deemed routine in nature, but anybody from the audience or a council member or staff member can ask for an item to be pulled for further discussion. Is there a motion?
I'll move 5.1 through 5.5 and 5.7 and 5.8. I'd like a separate report on 5.6.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, vote.
Councilmember Hudson,
Aye.
Councilmember Alone,
Aye.
Councilmember Perkins,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safar,
Aye.
and Mayor Clarkson.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Next item.
Special presentations. 6.1, introduction of Megan Wilkerson, Traffic Administrative Coordinator.
Hi, Lisa.
Good evening, Mayor Clarkson, members of the City Council, City Manager, staff, and community members. I'm pleased to be here this evening to introduce to all of you the newest member of the Public Works Department, Transportation Division team, Megan Wilkerson. Megan is the new Traffic Administrative Coordinator for the Measure J Traffic Congestion Relief Agency. Megan came on board in May. Since that time, she has had training and a transition with the prior program administrator, Heidi Kinniston-Lee. A little bit about Megan. She has said that she has lived a little bit in a lot of places. So a few of the areas that she has lived, Michigan, Texas, Iowa, Southern California, and now Northern California. Megan is a graduate of San Diego State University with a bachelor's degree in integrated marketing and communications. Throughout her career, she has been involved in sales and marketing and recently business development and public outreach. Megan and her family have moved to Northern California, have found their forever home here in the Tri-Valley. She has 3 kids, 1 entering college, 1 entering middle school, and 1 in elementary school. She's very busy these days. In her free time, she enjoys getting together with friends, camping, and exploring all of Northern California. So we are thrilled to have Megan on board. She looks forward to thriving in this position. She's also aware of the challenges that Trafix is facing. She has provided valuable input thus far and has forged ahead with forming positive relationships with our school bus provider, public agency staff members, our Citizen Advisory Committee, as well as the Trafix Board of Directors. So with that, I would like to introduce to you Megan Wilkerson.
Hi, Megan.
Everybody. Thanks for having me on today. I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm very excited to be a part of Trafix, and I'm happy to be a part of City of San Ramon.
Well, it's a pleasure to see you here, Megan. Is anybody here have any questions for Trafix and Megan? Because I think one of the questions that Lisa alluded to is Trafix operating right now?
No, currently due to San Ramon
Yes.
Valley Unified being on the watch list, all the students are distance learning, so Trafix is currently on hold. We're in a wait and see pattern, but we're ready when everybody's ready to go back to school. We're ready to start bus pass sales and get back going.
Super. I know that Sabina's got a question.
Well, I just had a comment. Megan onboarded with, during the last few months, and she's been phenomenal in just running with it and really taking on and organizing us. And I know we had a few special meetings. We've had some subcommittee meetings, and Megan, you've been really good in picking up things and really seeing things the way they are and advising us on some of the things as well. So welcome on board, and thank you so much for everything you've been doing the last few months for Trafix.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, Megan, the next time somebody asks you how Trafix is doing, tell them it's perfect.
It's great.
There are no errors, no problems.
No
nothing.
problem.
Perfect.
Missed
Exactly.
the pickup, have you?
But Megan, I do have a serious question, is how much lead time do you think the organization needs before you're ready to start taking children to school? I mean, if they were to tell you all of a sudden, we're opening up elementary schools next Monday, I'm not sure you would be ready, would you?
We actually have a 5-day schedule right now. So what we've put into place is everything on the bus pass sales is ready to go. We've done all the back end work. The website's ready. We have a schedule temporarily. So when we do have the go ahead, we have 5 days. Our service provider is waiting for us to give them the go ahead. So they've onboarded all their drivers. They've given them the routes. So they will be ready to go. So the plan is 5 days from the get-go, and we're ready to go.
Super, good information for parents to have.
Yes,
The drivers have not been let off. They're being paid.
they are, which is great. We are
It is,
excited
it
about
is. Thank you. See no further questions. Megan, thank you very much and have a wonderful
having
evening.
that. You too. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next item.
Item 6.2, proclamation recognizing the San Ramon Valley Islamic Center and the San Ramon American Muslim community for its efforts to provide COVID-19 relief assistance and declaring its appreciation for the contributions of American Muslims to the San Ramon community, presented by Mayor Clarkson.
And is there somebody here from the mosque to address first?
Yes, I'm promoting them in right now.
Thank you. Could you introduce them, please?
Yes, so it's Samina Usman representing Council on American Islamic Relations, Imad Aboushi, and Nadia Ann from the San Ramon Valley Islamic Center.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Actually, let's go ahead and have Nadia speak first.
Thank you. Hi, Nadia.
Hi. So we begin in the name of God, most merciful, most gracious. Good evening, Mayor, council members, fellow residents of San Ramon. Thank you for the proclamation recognizing the Muslims in the city of San Ramon and the role played by the San Ramon Valley Islamic Center. My family relocated to San Ramon 8 years ago. The clean streets, the organized development, the parks, the green belt, the multicultural and multi-religious fabric of the society is now the place that we call home. And recognizing that, dear Mayor Bill Clarkson is ending his term this year, would like to thank you for all your contribution to the development of the city. Thank you, Mayor Bill Clarkson. And the San Ramon Muslim contributed to many aspects of the San Ramon community. We can be found serving on the City Council, the Community Emergency Response Team, the PTAs of the San Ramon Valley Schools, the food banks, the highway cleanup, visiting seniors. We also participate in the annual Art and Wind festivals and various multicultural events in the city. And since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, our Islamic Center has donated more than 50,000 pounds of food to more than 750 families in the Tri-Valley area. And annually, we donate about $25,000 to the Contra Costa Food Bank every Ramadan. So as the city of San Ramon grows and develops, our center and our community look forward to more opportunities to participate in the growth and transformation and to contribute to this community that we call home.
Thank you. Who would like to speak next?
I'll go ahead and speak, Mr. Mayor. So,
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Bill and Vice Mayor, City Council, and honestly, it's good to see all of you again. It seems didn't realize how long it's been since I've seen all of you, and this is a good occasion to see everyone at least. You know, it's the next best thing after face to face. So. I think Sister Nadia covered a lot of the good work that's being done at the center, and this center has been in the community for 28 years. Its role is basically enhancing the community, the Muslim community, and building relationships with the community at large. So our goal as Muslims, we always want to leave the place better than when we came in. So we're always trying to enhance the community, and a lot of the work she mentioned basically has been intensified lately. I mean, we used to do like casual food drives. Now it's a bi-weekly system. We have the food coming in, people come in to pick it up. If they can't, we drive it to their homes. And my God, there's a lot of happy people when they see us. So a lot of the good work that's taking place. But honestly, you know, just I don't want to take long, go over the good work that the center has been doing, but this proclamation, you know, we always appreciate this proclamation by the city, and this year more than ever. I think with the racial tension going on and the environment we're living, it's a little bit electrified. So to see how the San Ramon city is always coming in with open arms, encompassing diversity, just dishing away any type of boycotting any kind of discrimination. So this proclamation goes a long way to put the Muslim community at ease at San Ramon and makes us feel welcome, makes people more apt to contribute to the community at large. And it's a very good initiative on part of the city. So I appreciate it again, and thank you, and glad to see all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Clarkson and Vice Mayor Zuffer, as well as the San Ramon Council. We appreciate the recognition of the San Ramon Valley Islamic Center, and also for the 5th annual American Muslim Appreciation and Awareness Month. Muslims have been part of this country since even before its founding and have made numerous contributions, and especially so during this whole terrible pandemic, being on the front lines, providing services, as you've already heard, in terms of donations and food distribution. And truly, San Ramon Valley Islamic Center has been at the forefront of that by providing hundreds of thousands of pounds of food during this pandemic, and being like the main distribution center, for this food distribution around the Bay Area. And so we're really appreciative of their contributions and of the many contributions throughout, everyday American Muslims. So again, we thank you. We thank the council. We thank, San Ramon Valley Islamic Center for all of their contributions.
Oh, thank you. And I'm going to have an opportunity here to read this proclamation. I believe the city clerk is going to share the screen. Proclamation from the city of San Ramon. Whereas San Ramon is the home of the San Ramon Valley Islamic Center, which is dedicated to serving the spiritual needs of San Ramon's Muslim community and promoting interfaith cooperation by providing an environment for dialogue, education, and fellowship. And whereas the San Ramon Valley Islamic Center has provided many volunteer services to the San Ramon community, including but not limited to the following: providing community assistance during the COVID pandemic, partnering with the International Rescue Committee to support newly arriving refugees to the Bay Area and to help them with apartment setup for those families, packaging and distributing over 100,000 pounds of food staples and masks to at-risk communities in the Bay Area. Through their You Are Not Alone program, a partnership with Support Life Foundation and 47 other Bay Area mosques and organizations. Supporting the SRVIC blood drives with the American Red Cross, and being one of the largest donors to the Contra Costa Food Bank, donating $25,000 to $30,000 every year, in addition to the estimated $500,000 in donations to the community's members in need. And whereas enriched by the unparalleled diversity of its residents, the city of San Ramon takes great pride in supporting individual religious freedoms and is strengthened by the many varied religions, political and cultural traditions, and contributions of its diverse population, including those Americans who practice Islam. And whereas Muslims have been a part of U.S. history from the beginning and have contributed to the production of wealth and construction of the nation, they're also a part of the rich history of the civil rights movement. And whereas almost 10,000 Muslims now reside in Contra Costa County and make innumerable contributions to the cultural, political, and economic fabric and well-being of California and the United States. And then whereas American Muslim teachers, lawyers, doctors, social workers, tech workers, nurses, business owners, among numerous other valued professions, as well as peace builders, activists, entrepreneurs, and politicians. And next page, whereas the California State Assembly has recognized the month of August 2020 as American Muslim Appreciation and Awareness Month, and whereas it is appropriate to acknowledge and promote awareness of the myriad of invaluable contributions of American Muslims in California and across the country, and extend to them the respect and comradeship every American deserves. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of San Ramon does hereby proclaim its appreciation for the efforts of the San Ramon Valley Islamic Center and the Muslim community to provide assistance to those in need during the COVID-19 pandemic, the many additional contributions of the SRVIC has made to the San Ramon community, the rich history, contributions, and guiding virtues of American Muslims, to commend all Muslim communities for their lasting positive impact they have made towards the advancement of our city and our country. Signed today, August 25th, 2020. Thank you so much. I always open this up to my fellow council members to see if they might have any follow-up comments. Dave.
I hope I'm thinking of the right place, but every time I see SRVIC, I think about trying to get out of City Hall on Friday. And I just, am I ever happy for you? It was
the old City Hall.
Great relationship. I mean, I was mayor during 2001, and the Muslim community was the first one to step up, come over, start the book, of sympathy, and it's a great relationship over there. I'm glad we're here so I can get out of my parking lot, but it was a great relationship while we were there.
Thank you, Dave. Scott? Scott, one improvement would be your voice.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that the mute button is the now reply all button of the past.
Yes.
I want to thank you again for all the assistance you've given to the food bank over the years. That's a tremendous organization. They do tremendous work, and your assistance, I'm sure, is invaluable to thousands of people who have needed those food and donations that you've provided. I really appreciate the Islamic Center. I've been there a few times. We've for some of your events, and then of course the campaign forums too. So thank you very much for sponsoring those. Thank you again.
Phil and then Sabina.
I'd just like to, first of all, thank you all. And also, is there people who are in need, how would they get in touch with you?
How do they?
Yes. How would they reach out to you? Is there an email address or a phone number if they have any needs?
Anything. I mean, we're, regular mail gets to us, email info@srvic.org, or there's a phone number we publish. So any of these methods, and we're open to anyone. So anyone you think needs help, we're definitely there to help him.
Thank you, sir.
And just
Good
to add
question,
to that,
Phil.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but just to add to that also, the Support Life Foundation, you can actually go to their website and sign up for if you want to receive a food package. We've been delivering food packages. I'm a volunteer with Support Life. I'm actually with the Council on American Islamic Relations, but when I do volunteer for Support Life, we actually do go and deliver to their doorstep these food packages that have been put together at SRVIC. So that's one way. So again, Support Life or supportlives.org, I believe.
Thank you very much. And Sabina.
So I just wanted to add to it that I believe SRVIC is also listed on our website as one of the partners that can help donate food. And so you can also go through the city's website and the organizations we're partnering with. Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we made sure it was there so people could reach out through the city as well. Again, thank you so much, Imad, Nadia, and Samina, for always bringing this to council, for doing all the great work you guys are doing. I'm especially impressed by the highway cleanup because I know that's a big task you guys have taken on, and people do go out there and clean up the highway, and that's an important part of keeping San Ramon clean and making sure our city looks beautiful. So I appreciate that. And obviously the food drives, I've been following some of the posts, some of the things you've been doing, and they have been phenomenal. And as people have reached out sometimes to me directly, I've been able to direct them to the service center as well. So thank you so much for your service, for always staying connected and making sure as a council we're aware of some of the things you're doing at the center.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a great evening and stay safe.
Thank you.
If I can, I
Please,
heard
Dave.
a rumor, and Amir Farouk was my neighbor at one time, and he used to always invite me over there. And I don't know if he was tied or his son is tied to the Islamic Center, but I heard that he's not well. Is anybody aware of this, or am I just talking?
So I think you're thinking of Abed Farouk.
Yes.
Amir is the son. Abed is
I jumped them together. But is
Yes,
Abed okay?
Abed, he passed away, unfortunately, about a month ago after battling cancer. So yes, we are all saddened by that. He was one of the best men I've known.
Yeah, but we couldn't find out any other way. And I'm sorry to have to ask you this way, but a lot of the neighbors are still there and asking about him because we had heard this.
Yes.
I wish we'd known about it a couple months ago. But I should have reached out.
Yes.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you, and have a nice evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next item.
Item 6.3, proclamation recognizing the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote. Presentation by Mayor Clarkson to Carol Lopez Lucy, representing Dublin San Ramon Women's Club.
And we'll bring Carol up first. Thank you.
Where'd she go? Oh, there she is.
Is she not there?
She's coming in right now.
Great, okay. Oh, I see her. Okay.
Okay, I can see you all, but I don't know if you can see me or not.
I think you need to turn on your video, bottom left. She disappeared.
I'm just promoting her in as a panelist.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. There's a lot of names on both lists, so I have to.
Yes, that's great. Well, Carol, as you're getting promoted up here, it's good to see you.
Thank
Hello,
you.
Carol.
It's nice to be here in front of you.
Thank you. And it's nice to have you on the 100th anniversary.
Yes.
Well, tell us why we're here.
Well, you know, it's only been 100 years ago that the women had received the right to vote. And we are very privileged now that we have the right to vote and many other opportunities, because 100 years ago, women didn't have any right to vote. They didn't have any right to own property or own a business. So we have come a long way. It was voted in Tennessee when they had the vote there, and it was one young gentleman who changed his vote because he had received a letter from his mother saying, be a good boy and vote for ratification. And Mr. Burns did vote yes, and that made the women have the right to vote. So our General Federation of Women's Clubs is all over the world, and of course in every state, and our local district is hosting a webinar on the history of it and why we got to vote and that we're proud to vote. And so we wanted a proclamation from the city of San Ramon, because our Dublin San Ramon Women's Club does very much a lot of work in the city, and we're appreciative of the vote, and we thought that every woman should be honored to be having the right to vote.
Well, it should be noted that the women of San Ramon had the right to vote 8 years earlier, didn't they?
Yes, some states had given their women the right to vote before it was voted upon by the US.
Yes, I think now it was 1912 here in California, the women had the right to vote.
Many of the Western states were very more advanced than on the East Coast.
Yes, to say the least.
Yes.
Some would say it's still the case.
That's true.
If we could go ahead and share the screen, and I will have the pleasure of reading this proclamation. Proclamation from the city of San Ramon. Whereas an organized movement to enfranchise women began in July of 1848 at Santa Falls, New York. And whereas brave and courageous women, referred to as suffragettes, sacrificed their personal lives and financial resources for nearly 75 years to pursue equal rights to vote and to have a voice in making the laws that govern them. And whereas diverse women and men of all races and religions supported the women's suffrage movement so that women might gain the constitutional right to vote and to have a voice making laws that govern them. And whereas the women's suffrage movement led to the congressional passage of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution in 1919, with ratification by the states in August of 1920. And whereas the National American Women's Suffrage Association created the League of Women Voters of the United States in 1920 to register people to vote and to educate all voters. And whereas, although women today constitute a majority vote in our county, state, and country are running for office in higher numbers and are more active in the election process than ever before. Much still needs to be done to achieve equality and parity in elective office. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of San Ramon does hereby recognize and celebrate the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution, commends those brave women of the past for their historic accomplishments, and also comments on the tireless women of the present for their impact on civil engagement in the electoral process of our city, county, state, and nation. Dated today, August 25th, 2020. Carol, thank you for bringing this to us. I know you were looking forward to doing this. I always open it up for questions and comments from my fellow council members. And maybe Sabina, our lady on council, might like to make the first comment.
Well, thank you so much, Carol, for bringing this to the council, and appreciate the proclamation. As an elected on this council, I feel very privileged that, you know, it took us only 100 years to make this happen. No, but really I think I take that privilege very seriously, and all the women that have been our council members and mayors in the past, and we've built upon the good work that they've done. So acknowledging and recognizing all the other women that have served on our council as well, and build the core of this community. The funny thing is, the very last event that I attended before we kind of went under lockdown was the San Ramon Women's Club and the teen preparation, job preparation fair. That is always held, that you do such a great job. And there's so many volunteers that always show up. It's kind of, you know, when the Dublin San Ramon Women's Club calls you, you show up for that. And so that was kind of the last event. We were using, you know, SOPs and things like that. And we were starting to figure out, should we shake hands? As we were showing these kids how to do job interviews, we were starting to get into the mode of, maybe we should not shake hands. Maybe we should just use the hand sanitizer and use the elbows. So, you know, I just remember that, and I'm like, we were just thinking about it. And then, you know, all of this COVID happened. So appreciate you doing that. Appreciate all the work that the club does, and so many of the other women organizations. I am personally a member of AAUW as well. I've sat on their board. Again, we have several women-led organizations that are doing such great work in our community, whether it's volunteering for our libraries, whether volunteering at the Art and Wind Festival, doing the teen preparedness fair, and all the numerous things. So appreciate it. And I'm just honored to be a part of a group of women that is serving the city. Thank you.
Thank you. It was the last public thing we did, because we did our art contest too and had to cancel the reception. And now we are just returning the art and all the monies and certificate to the winners to the individual schools, but we cannot return all of the art to the schools until they return in person. So we've had to do different things that we normally do, but soon we hope to be more active again. But thank you for the proclamation very much.
Of course, Carol. Any other comments? Scott?
Oh, I just wanted to say congratulations. My mom was a member of AAUW and League of Women Voters. And I just love that story about the mom who wrote her son who was in the Tennessee legislature.
Yes.
And that was the 36th state.
Yes.
Out of the 48 states, you know, you needed 36 to make it happen, 3/4 of the states. And the other 12 states were highly unlikely to take up the measure or pass it. So it really did come down to that one, because they were split 50-50.
Yes.
So he changed his vote to approve it. And had it failed in Tennessee, it's not quite sure when it would have transpired eventually, we all believe, but it's not sure when. And I just think that's a wonderful story, and it points out how important everybody's vote is, that
Yes.
one vote can make the difference.
Yes, it does.
Absolutely. It should be noted, by the way, that the first mayor of San Ramon was a woman.
Yes,
Yes, Diane Schinner. So great.
thank you again.
Thank you, Carol. Have a wonderful evening. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Madam Clerk.
Item 7, deferred consent items. Resolution 2020-079, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Clean Harbors Environmental Services, Inc. for door-to-door household hazardous waste and electronic collection services through December 31st, 2025, in an amount not to exceed 1.5 million from the Solid Waste Fund.
Scott, you asked this to be pulled. Could you give a quick explanation of what you're looking for?
I really wanted to bring this one to the public's attention. We have been without a hazardous household waste pickup service now for on the order of about 2 years. And I was hoping that we could get Dave Kruger to give us just a very short update on what it is they're going to pick up and when the service would start.
Great.
And we can take a vote.
Is David here?
He was.
He's having some technical difficulties, so Director Maria Ferner is going to assist.
Great. Hi, Maria.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. So I won't talk too long, but hopefully it's long enough for David to be able to get back online. So just a brief overview of this item. The city has long provided household hazardous waste and electronic collection services as part of the waste collection in order to reduce improper disposal and need for residents to drive to Martinez to dispose of these materials. The city's previous vendor for door-to-door household hazardous waste and electronics collection, this discontinued in November of 2018. So it's been a while since we've had this. Staff has negotiated an agreement with the only remaining vendor who provides such services in the Bay Area, and that's Clean Harbors Environmental Services. The program would cost about $230,000 per year, and the city's franchise garbage hauler, which is Alameda County Industries, pays a monthly fee to the city to fund the HHW programs. And these are accrued to the Solid Waste Fund. The revenue from this fee is adequate to compensate Clean Harbors at its negotiated rates. There would be no impact to the general fund. And once this is approved by the city council, the services could begin as early as September of this year. And this is pending receipt of county permits.
I see David is with us. If he could just briefly cover what services they will provide in more specific language, what they will pick up and what won't they? I mean, they won't take radioactive or biohazards, but there are many, many things that they will pick up. And I'd really like to hear for everybody's benefit, what will they pick up and how does one access this service?
Hi, David.
Thank you. Apologize, a little technical difficulties there. Thanks, Maria, for covering that. So it's with a few additions, it's the same materials as before. So they will pick up your household hazardous waste. And so that's things like automotive fluids, like motor oil. And it's also car batteries and household chemicals like pesticides, insecticides, and also mercury containing devices they'll pick up. So pretty much all the things that you would have to take to Martinez, they will take. Paint is one of the biggest things they collect, latex paint.
How does one access this service, or how will, come September, how will one get this service?
You can either go to their website, and there'll be links from ACI's website and from the city's website to go and make an appointment that way, or there'll be a phone number that you can call and talk to Clean Harbors and make an appointment. And it should take about 2 weeks to get an appointment. You tell them what materials you have. They send you in the mail any labels for things that were unlabeled, and a big, thick, clear plastic bag to enclose small things that we don't want to leak into the environment. So you'd put the smaller things in the clear plastic bag, and big things like a TV, obviously, you'd leave on the side. They come on the appointed day and pick it up from your doorstep. It's important it's from the doorstep and not the curb. We don't want some of these hazardous things at the curb where they might wind up in the storm drain or people messing with them on the curb.
This was always very important to me because if you make it easy for people to cooperate and follow the law, they will. When it's hard, like driving all the way to Martinez, that's a 45-minute round trip on good, if you do it in the middle of the day, not during a rush hour, it's 45 minutes to an hour to drive up there, drop it off, and then drive back. So that is a threshold that a lot of people will not endure to dispose of this material properly. As a result, they often dispose of it improperly by just throwing it in their trash or recycling. So I'm really grateful we're going to have this program, assuming we get a positive vote here in just a moment. But if people find that they can do this easily, they will comply and they will participate. And I think that's absolutely wonderful. I appreciate the staff going to the trouble of finding this company and working out the details. So I'd like to move 5.6.
Second.
Moved Perkins, seconded by Hudson. Any other comments? I see
So
a
I
hand
do
up.
have a
Sabina.
question. Yeah. So David, the question I have is this also something they do like twice a year or 3 times a year where they do the pickup, or is it just by calling the service?
Just by calling in.
Okay.
And
And what about
actually
light bulb?
calling-
Okay, go ahead.
You can call in as many times as you want per year.
He's ducking
And
the
the
question,
information-
Sabina. Ask him again. She took Harry's spot about the light bulbs.
I want to know about the light bulbs. Those are my biggest. I think about, do you change those so frequently? And so are light bulbs part of this as well?
Correct.
Or
The
are they?
fluorescent
Yeah.
light bulbs, both the tubes and the small light bulbs. Yeah.
Okay. And this information will be available once, if we go ahead and approve this, then this will be available somewhere easily on the website and we can point people to it.
Exactly.
We used to
We'll
put it
also
out
do
in
a
the quarterly
campaign
too, right?
that came back.
Yeah. David, we put it out in the quarterly newspaper also, or we used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next edition, I hope we could put it in the next edition of the quarterly.
Yeah, there's also a garbage bill insert, which is a good way to promote it for both multifamily and single family. The quarterly newsletter, and we're also looking at doing a postcard or a door hanger as well. Just make sure everybody gets the message.
Great. Thank you, David. Maria, thank you. Madam Clerk, I think there is some protocol here.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Hudson,
Aye.
Councilmember Alone,
Aye.
Councilmember Perkins,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safar,
Aye.
and Mayor Clarkson.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0. Item 8, adoption of ordinances. We have none. Item 9, city council appointments. We also have none this evening. Item 10, approval of minutes. Before you are 4 sets of minutes from July 28th, July 29th special meeting, July 29th, another special meeting, and August 3rd, a third special meeting for your approval or revision.
I can
Is there a
move.
motion?
I can move.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Mr. Hudson seconded it.
For clarification, are you moving items 10.1 through 10.4?
Yes, I'm moving items 10.1 through 10.4, all 4 special meetings.
Thank
Dave, you agree?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay, make sure we're following. I got Martin watching us. Want to make sure we're doing this right.
No, he went to sleep.
Is there any other discussion on this? See no further discussion, Madam Clerk. Let's take a roll call.
Councilmember Hudson,
Aye.
Councilmember Alone,
Aye.
Councilmember Perkins,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Zafar,
Aye.
and Mayor Clarkson.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0. Item 11, unfinished business. 11.1, continued public hearing resolution number 2020-082, confirming Building and Safety Services Division statement of expenses for unpaid fees and fines and directing the city clerk to forward a certified copy of this resolution to the Contra Costa County. Staff report by Vance Phillips, Chief Building Official.
Hello, Vance.
Good evening. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is a continuation of the hearing to allow to allow protests or objections to the revisions or any necessary corrections, and then to adopt the resolution levying the special assessments for unpaid fees and fines. Not sure if you want me to go through the entire report again, or just, I do know I believe, no, I do know we've received one written protest to the fees, and didn't know if they're going to make a statement tonight or be present for the council tonight.
We'll have, and we'll reopen the hearing or open the hearing. And is there anybody, Madam Clerk, who has raised their hand or has sent in a written comment?
I don't have a written public comment. However, for those in the audience that would like to make a comment on this item, please use the raise your hand button at this time.
And while that's happening, is there a council member who would like to have Vance go into more detail? Are we comfortable with what we've learned so far? I think we're okay with what we learned so far.
Yeah.
I've got my hand up, though. I need to ask the same question. Do I need to continue to recuse myself? Is this the same item before where I've dealt with someone previously?
This is the same item, so you'll need to identify the reason for your recusal and then click off.
Well, the reason is that I know someone that has been fined, and we have had business dealings before. And so I feel it's appropriate that I should recuse myself from this item.
So Dave, what you want to do is go mute and turn off your video. Thank you. Is that good, Martin?
That works.
That works. Scott?
We received a letter email today from Mr. Forney, is it? I'll pull it up here.
Yes, George Forney.
Would Mr. Vance, would you care to comment on that case? And is it appropriate that we defer his case to another day and another time? I want to just like to have your input on that.
This case is regarding a vehicle, an unregistered vehicle. This was the second correspondence we received from Mr. Forney. We received one, I believe, last week. So we hadn't had any communication, or there's been no communication prior to this. We do post our notices and visible when you walk up to the property. So not only are they mailed, or they're also posted, and they have been removed. But regardless of that, I'm not, for us, compliance is what we're looking for. And I know we have fines and we go through that process. So, but compliance is what we're trying to accomplish. If the council would choose to do so, we have options. We could allow the owner time to get the vehicle registered. And when I say time, that's up to you. I need to get my report to the county offices by September 14th. It was extended this year. And so we had a benefit of allowing a little more time. So we could allow until September 14th to get compliance, meaning get the vehicle registered, get the vehicle moved off site, get the vehicle moved into the garage. That's an option if we stick with minimum compliance. The next option would be to possibly waive the fees, and it would still give him a certain time limit to get them done. And if it isn't done, maybe reinstate the fees for the following year. So, and again, you use your minds to figure out if there's other options you'd like to consider. We do get complaints about this vehicle. It does not move, or it has not moved. And so that's why it's still in the same place where we last viewed it. And so we expect to continue to receive complaints. Yes, in the notice that the email that we received, he did acknowledge that he's received notices before. But just so we're clear, the ordinance requires it being capable of driven on public streets. And to be driven on public streets, that means it needs to be registered, not just be able to start up and drive around. registration is also required. So there are options. Again, compliance is what we're looking for. If we do get complaints in the future, we at least have something to respond with. There's a time limit, there's a certain time to be done. It appears that there were circumstances that were expressed to us regarding medical conditions. And again, we don't try to create these problems or push these problems, but we do try to get compliance because there are others in the area that have expressed concerns about this. So yes, you do have options. Staff would take those and move forward with it however you choose to advise.
What I'd like to do with the council permission is, again, continue the hearing, take any public testimony, and then go back to questions. Would that be okay, Sabina? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Madam Clerk, do we have anybody who wants to speak?
I do have one request from Mike Forney.
Good. Thank you for your patience, Mike, as we bring you on board.
Mr. Forney, can you please unmute?
Apologize. Thank you. Members of the City Council, Mayor and Vice Mayor, thank you and good evening. I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you. So I am the one who has the 2000 Lincoln Town car that is parked at 2514 Marsh Drive. And the reason regarding its issues with registration is an issue stemming all the way back to the 2018 accident that left me with the current medical conditions. DMV has had some issues with processing some of my smog stuff, even though fees have been paid at times. And I cannot physically alter the car because of the issues with the accident. So I've been trying to move it into the garage, but with my health issues, it's a bit challenging.
It's okay, Mike.
So I received the notice I was in the hospital regarding the issues with the fees and the hearing. So I received that on August 7th, and I've tried to work with family members to help assist me in this matter.
Mike, we appreciate the comment. I think we'll have some comments to follow your the conclusion of your comments. Anything else you want to share?
That's pretty much it. I mean, historically, I have received notices for cars that actually were legally licensed, registered, titled, and operable, including registration. There's at least 4 times previously I've received those notices for cars that were actually active, registered, and operable cars. So there is some history of issues there with one of my neighbors tampering with my cars, including putting nails, screws, other stuff in my tires, entering my vehicles illegally and that kind of stuff. So when I am away or when I'm working, oftentimes I'll come home to find things missing, like my license plates, stuff like that. And this has been communicated in the past with Mr. Elliott.
Okay. Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, anybody else wish to speak from public comment?
I have a question for Mr. Forney. He's still on? Mr. Forney?
Yes, I'm still here.
Do you have a plan for coming into compliance and a timeline?
Yeah, so currently I'm still rehabilitating from my stroke, and I'm looking to get home within the next month or so. And hopefully during that time period, I'll be able to either have the vehicle brought into the garage. There's not enough room for it right now. There's some materials that need to be moved. Or at this point, I may have it hauled off to a junkyard instead.
I'm very sympathetic to your problem, but we have to have, for your benefit and ours, we need to have some kind of timeline for closure on this. We
Sure. Yeah. So I would say from what I'm capable of doing now, there's no doubt that I'd be able to have everything handled by the end of September, worst case, but it should be prior to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Christina, anybody else? No. Okay, you're on. I will close the hearing. And Sabina, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of what Vance explained to us as well. The goal is not to have any cause of public issues or things like that, and not to put a burden on the public by doing this. We're simply making sure that we're doing this the right way. I think one of the things I would like to raise is, I don't know how long DMV was closed during the COVID period. I know they ceased their operations for a while. And so at least that amount of period is something that I would say we take into consideration, that, if Mr. Forney was supposed to, or could have been able to at least get his license, and he was not able to, or the registration, he could not get it, we cushioned that in as part of, the timeline for him in getting that registration. If he moves it or does something, moves it into the garage or whatever. I don't know if we offer assistance through the city. Vince, is that something we do if the resident is not capable of moving something like a car themselves, or we don't do that?
We as staff don't do that, but there are organizations that do help property owners with maintenance and things of that nature. It sounds like it, again, without seeing all the conditions, but getting adequate space. You don't want people to go in and just throw stuff away in their garage. You would like them to, everybody has value in stuff they have. So organize it in a way to let them get the car in. Maybe yes, we do have at least one organization that we could contact to see if it doesn't sound like Mr. Forney's home right now, but we could contact to see about or arranging him assistance for him to create an area in his garage and to move that in. And again, this is just ideas. Some people don't want other people in their homes. I get that too. So, but we'll provide options or opportunities for someone to provide assistance and see what we can do to assist with getting an area cleaned up. Again, and not trying to
excuse me, Vance. He said he'd do it by the end of September.
Okay.
Does anybody have a problem giving him till the end of September? I pulled up, I entered the address. There's a car in the driveway with canvas over it, and the date of the Google photograph is April 2019. So the point here is that the city doesn't do this stuff without people complaining a number of times, and he's willing to do it by the end of September. I'm fine with that. And if Vance, if he needs a little help figuring it out, great. But our job here is to say, is September 30th a reasonable time frame? I think the answer is the answer is yes. So with that, I make a motion that we approve the resolution with the amendment that Mr. Forney has till the end of September to comply.
Is there a second? I see Perkins raising his hand for a second. It's been moved
That
and
work,
seconded.
Martin? Yes, it does. Certainly.
It's been moved and seconded. See no further discussion. Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Councilmember Hudson,
He had to
He is
recuse
recused.
himself, right?
Recused himself.
My apologies. Councilmember Alone,
Aye.
Councilmember Perkins,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Zafar,
Aye.
and Mayor Clarkson.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes 4-1 with Councilmember Hudson recused.
Great. Dave can come back into the meeting. Mike, thank you for being here. Madam Clerk, next item.
Item 12, new business, 12.1, resolution 2020-083, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Itiris Inc. for vendor services to provide bicycle detection systems at 20 intersections for the Bollinger Canyon and Crow Canyon Roads traffic signal, automated traffic signal performance measure system, and an amount not to exceed $367,950. Staff report by Deborah Fear, Senior Traffic Engineer.
Thank you. Hi, Deborah. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Let me see if I can do this share screen properly. Okay, everybody see the presentation?
Yep.
All right. So, again, good evening, Mayor and members of the council, as well as members of the community. Tonight, I am here to give you a quick project overview and also request council action on resolution 2020-083, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Iteris for vendor services to provide a bicycle detection system at 20 intersections for the Bollinger Canyon and Crow Canyon Roads ATSPM system in an amount not to exceed $367,950. And ATSPM, it stands for Automated Traffic Signal Performance Measures. Oops. So the topics I'm going to cover tonight are the IDEA grant, project description, and the timeline, the components of the project, the ATSPM system and bicycle detection system, discuss next steps, take any questions you might have. And I was hoping to give you a short demonstration of the ATSPM software, but I'm having some bandwidth issues and it's going so slow that I don't think it will work out this evening.
So am I.
But we will definitely, when we close out the project, or maybe even before that, we'll come back and give an update and hopefully be able to do it in person and have the necessary bandwidth to do that.
Great.
So how did this all start? MTC issued a call for projects for the IDEA program grant. The core goals of this grant are to improve travel time and travel time reliability along arterials for autos and transit vehicles, improve safety of motorists, transit riders, bicyclists, and pedestrians, decrease motor vehicle emissions and fuel consumption, as well as improve knowledge of and proficiency of the use of advanced technologies for arterial operations. And staff evaluated this grant and decided to submit an application, which was approved by MTC for the full amount that we requested. So the project consists of 3 parts. Overall, the project will implement an ATSPM system at 43 intersections along Crow Canyon Road from Bollinger Canyon Road to Doherty Road, and along Bollinger Canyon Road from Talavera Drive to Doherty Road South. All the signals shown on this figure here, regardless of the color of the dot that you see, will be outfitted with ATSPMs. And then the yellowish orange dots, they signify the 14 locations where the existing obsolete traffic signal controllers are to be replaced. And those are also the adaptive signal locations. And then the purple dots are the 20 locations where the bicycle monitoring detection system will be installed, which is the contract that we're hoping to approve tonight. So since 2017, we've accomplished quite a bit. MTC had issued their call for projects and staff submitted a Category 1 application. The city was awarded the grant in the amount of $563,000. City Council authorized the funding agreement with MTC. The system engineering report was completed. We replaced the 14 obsolete controllers. We've issued an RFP, reviewed proposals, conducted interviews, and selected an ATSPM vendor. And that vendor was TrafOp, which the City Council authorized their contract. And we've begun installing the ATSPM system. And we also issued another RFP, reviewed proposals, and selected a bicycle detection system vendor. So tonight, again, we're requesting the adoption of Resolution 2020-083, authorizing that contract with Iteris. So TrafOp, as I said, was is our ATSPM system vendor. The software uses a browser-based interface rather than a software package that requires installation on everybody's computer. And as you can see from the figure, there are several different dashboards as well as different metrics charts. The dashboards are effectively just snapshots of all of the metric charts. And all of these charts and dashboards are customizable through TrafOp. And since TrafOp does only this, they are continually improving and adding this, adding to their software, which the city will benefit from all the improvements and the upgrades that they are moving forward with. So I wanted to give you a couple of example charts that are very blatantly show information that can be gained from the system. So these are not examples from the city because we aren't completely set up that I can find all this information readily. So the first chart is a representative of queue links for a single intersection for a single through movement. As you can see on the chart here, there's the purple line is pretty evenly until you get to like Plan 3 here, where it jumps up, and that's showing that there's some queue links that the cars are backing up to about 100 feet. And what we're gleaning from this is that there's probably a problem with the signal timing. And then the other chart is the percentage of vehicles arriving on red. And here you can see the correlation also that Plan 3, that curve is higher in that area, which kind of confirms that maybe we need to make some revisions to this plan.
What is the time scale of those? Are those hours, minutes, days, months? It's
by the hour. The x-axis is by the hour.
Okay.
So this, I believe, is just an example of one day, like a 24-hour period, perhaps.
Okay.
Okay, this example is of a dashboard. It's a simple system overview. It just gives a quick look at all the signals that are running on the ATSPM platform. It shows that there are 4 signals that are running in free mode. Excuse me. There are 31 alarms happening. 0 signals are in flash, 0 signals have power failure, and it's just showing some graphics corresponding to those numbers. And these dashboards can also be customized to whatever the user's preferences are.
What is the free mode?
Oh, it's just a mode that the traffic signal is in. It wouldn't be on a timing plan at all. So like in our city, we have on Crow and Bollinger, those signals run different timing plans throughout the day. So it could be running AM plan, a midday plan, a PM plan, and anything in between that isn't a plan, it'd be running in free mode. So it's basically just an actuated signal. And This dashboard shows some travel time metrics for a specific corridor. Again, this is not a San Ramon corridor, but it shows each intersection on the corridor and what the travel time and distance are between each intersection. And it also shows the current travel time, like in this instance, is 8 minutes, with the free flow travel time being 8 minutes and the total distance of the corridor being 3.7 miles. And then that metric, that 60%, that is the percentage increase that is caused by traffic. So it's a comparison against the free flow conditions. So we can see how congested an area is. And this slide shows an executive signal executive dashboard. It reports, this one specifically is reporting the level of service, estimated cost, tons of CO2 waste, and annualized cost caused by vehicle delay per intersection that it's analyzing. There's also some information on traffic volumes and vehicle delay. And this is one of the I think more important slides, for reporting things, because you can do before and after studies using this information, such as implementing a new timing plan. We can look at this and make some changes to the timing plan, and then redo this and see what kind of improvements we get. This will also be helpful for like the Crow Canyon widening. When we go from 4 lanes to 6 lanes, we'll be able to tell if we've made a improvement in any of these indicators. And as you saw from the chart before, there are many more charts and dashboards that are available, and all this information will be helpful for engineering as well as public service staff. So finally, the reason that we're here tonight is to adopt the resolution authorizing the contract with Iteris for the bicycle detection system. This is a video detection system, and it's capable of distinguishing between vehicles and bicycles. This is important because the signals are currently timed to provide enough green time for bicyclists to make it through the intersection before the intersection, before the signal changes, whether or not a bicycle is present, which creates a lot of vehicle delay. With this bicycle detection system, when a bicycle is detected, a call is sent to the controller that a bicycle is present, and the controller adjusts the signal timing accordingly. And right now, the in-pavement loops don't distinguish between a bicycle and a vehicle. And we've also had problems with bicycles not triggering the in-pavement loops because of the amount of, or I should say the lack of metal in the bike, or they're just not positioned properly on the loop. And this video system does not rely on loops and is therefore more reliable for detecting bicycles.
When a bicycle is not detected, it will adjust the signal length accordingly as well.
Yes, it'll keep the timing, the green time to a minimum as to reduce the amount of delays.
Right, so it will accommodate whatever cars are in the queue, but it won't adjust for the lack of a bicycle.
Exactly. And there's also an added benefit to the video detection system is that since it's video, we'll be able to remotely view the video and also collect bicycle counts, as well as provide additional information to the ATSPM system. So this is going to make the whole system more robust and give us a lot more data to work with.
Are these video signals recorded at all?
We do not record them now.
Okay. So you'll rely on the video to do the counting. Like in the left picture, you see 2 bicycles very close together. would the system be able to distinguish between the two bicycles?
It is my understanding that yes, it does. So the bottom line is this project, when complete, will allow staff to create more effective timing plans on the Crow and Bollinger corridors. It will reduce driver delay and travel time, create safer environment for bicyclists, more easily identify problems and effectively troubleshoot intersections, and it'll allow us to be proactive versus reactive. So next steps are to adopt resolution 2020-083, authorizing contract with Iteris Inc. Begin installation and implementation of the bicycle detection cameras, continue setting up the ATS-PM system, train with TrafOps on the ATS-PM software, and start optimizing the signal timing.
So this involves replacing cameras all over the place, because we have cameras on almost all these interchanges now.
We do not have cameras on the 20 intersections that we're proposing to install the bicycle detection.
Okay.
Can you see my cursor on the screen?
Yes,
Yeah, barely.
very small.
Okay, so we're only putting in the cameras where there's bike lanes, so that would be from Doherty to Barbados. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
On Crow, and then on Bollinger from I think Chantarella all the way down to Doherty Road, the south intersection on Doherty Road. Excuse me. And for now, we don't have any other camera locations going in, because this was just part of the grant that we asked for, the 20 locations with the bike lanes.
I had a couple of questions. When will the ATS-PM install be finished? You said it started in February, Deborah?
Started in February, March-ish, and it took them a while to set it up. They're still working on it. We're having some issues with the adaptive signals, just because of the way that the adaptive system is set up. And so we're having to order a couple additional pieces of equipment and working with Rhythm Engineering, the adaptive vendor, as well as TrafOp and our signal techs, to try to get it set up so that it can pull the information that it needs to put it into the software and give us.
You might be 6 months out from it being working properly?
Hope not.
Okay.
We were hoping to have this done well before December 31st.
Okay, thank you. Well, as a Notre Dame and Michigan alum, it always pains me to give Purdue any credit whatsoever, but Purdue is the gold standard for traffic engineering in the country. And Notre Dame even hired Purdue engineers for their football game traffic, which was very well done. So I'm not going to get, seeing Purdue's name all over this. Clearly they know what they're doing, and that stuff makes sense, right? How are people getting through the intersection in a proper fashion? If they aren't, there's points in time that it happens, and you can really focus on a particular points in time and locations.
Yes.
And getting identifying bikes and making it appropriate for them is part of our plan overall to make this a more bike-friendly city. So I think this is a good idea myself.
Dave, you have a question?
Yeah, if I'm reading this right, Deborah, what you're asking us to do is pass resolution 2020-83 for 367,000 plus. What I'm not clear on, I think you said that there's a grant from MTC. Is there matching funds from us? Is it all the grant? where is the actual financing on this?
Well, since it's a three-part project, we've got money coming from the TIF as well as money from MTC.
Yeah.
So it's 563,000, I believe it was, from the grant money from MTC. So we've got some additional matching funds, as well as some extra funding.
Well, where I was going, when I looked at this and I said 367,000 for a transportation program, no, she's off of zero. I mean, this is not the whole cost. This is what needs to be done to complete what we're doing. Is that correct? Is this the whole cost of this?
No.
Yeah, okay.
No, this is just one part of it.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for Martin. Martin, if I read the agenda item, it does not call for a public hearing or public comment.
If it is on the agenda, then you do need to invite anyone who's interested to speak on the item, regardless.
Thank you. I'll make sure we clarify that.
Yes.
With the permission from the council, I'd like to open this up to public comment. Christina, is anybody raising their hand?
And just a reminder for those in the audience, please use the raise your hand button if you would like to speak on this item. We do have one request from Joyce Carr.
Great.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can, Joyce.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just had one question, Deborah. On the last map that you showed, where all the detectors were, there were some areas where the road was colored orange. What does the orange mean?
This is just a colored map of the traffic congestion.
Mm-hmm.
It's typical, the same thing you'd see on a Google map of the traffic or a Waze map. It's just showing the areas of congestion. So the green means it's pretty much free flowing. Yellow is there's a little bit of congestion. Red means a lot of congestion. And if it's black, it's pretty much dead stopped.
Okay, so by the orange then means that, what does that mean when you're planning all of this? What are you looking for, or what are you looking to do?
We're looking to change the traffic signal timing to decrease the delays and get the traffic moving faster. You know, I mean, there could be a problem with the signal timing being not, the coordination might be off. So maybe we might have to look at to make sure that the clock is set correctly, because if the clock is set 30 seconds different from all the other clocks,
yeah,
it will back up the traffic and cause a lot of congestion.
Okay.
That's just one example.
Okay, that's great. Thanks so much for answering my question.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Joyce.
You're welcome.
Madam Clerk, anybody else?
We have no additional requests to speak.
All right, I will close the public comment and look to questions and or a motion.
So I had my hand raised.
Yes, go ahead,
Quick
Sabina.
question. Yeah, I know a few weeks ago we had a question around a motorbike, and you know how that weight of the motorbike was not being detected by our signals, and we had to adjust it. Is it just going to detect bikes, or is there like other lighter and other vehicles? You know, what if somebody was on a scooter or something like that, or is it just very specific to bikes? I wanted to understand.
Oh no, this will detect vehicles, motor vehicles, trucks, bicycles. It also detects pedestrians.
Okay.
So it's not only is it video, it's radar. So it's a two-pronged approach to detecting, you know, all these items. So it will detect scooters, it'll detect motorcycles.
Okay. And then does it recommend what the ideal time should be, or based on what you see, the staff makes that determination?
Staff makes that determination. It's not that smart yet.
Scott.
Deborah, we do not have any signal detection system that depends on the weight of the vehicle. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So there's nothing out there that depends on somebody actually pressing down through tires on anything. Okay, so everything is either a coil embedded in the road and that generates a signal, or it's a camera / radar thing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to move resolution 2020-083.
I see Dave raising 2 fingers, which I assume means second.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Not seeing any further discussion, Madam Clerk, okay for a roll call vote.
Councilmember Hudson,
Aye.
Councilmember Alone, Councilmember Perkins,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Zafar,
Aye.
and Mayor Clarkson.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Nice job, Deborah. Thank you very much.
Item 12.2, public hearing resolution number 2020-084, appeal of Planning Commission resolution number 04-20, approving the Russian School of Mathematics land use permit.
And I have to say up front that I'm going to recuse myself. One of the parties, I'm not sure which one, has employed somebody who has been in business with me for many, many years, over 30 years. We have no financial commitments, and I don't view that there are any financial conflicts of interest, but even the appearance that I might favor one party over the other because I have a relationship with somebody who is working with them, I think it's prudent upon me not to be involved in the conversation at all. So I will go dark, turn off my video, turn off my light, and I'll return after you guys finish.
Sabina's in charge.
All right. Where's the gavel?
That's
All right. So should we, and I will look at Martin for this one, do we want to start with a staff report on this one?
Good evening.
Yeah. Yes, we will have begin with the staff report.
All right, thank you, Lauren.
And then we'll go with opening the public hearing.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone, Vice Mayor, council members. I will do a brief PowerPoint presentation, share my screen, and then afterwards, both myself and Shinya Sugimoto will be available for questions. In addition, we have the appellants in the audience, as well as representatives from the Russian School of Math and the property owners. So let me share my screen here. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so this is an appeal of Planning Commission Resolution 04 that approved the Russian School of Mathematics. Let me get to the, there we go. So the location is 9260 Acosta Boulevard, and the suite in which Russian School of Math went into is C17, and this is on Lot D. The general plan designation is mixed use. Zoning designation is mixed use senior housing. There's a senior housing overlay on the property. And the Russian School of Math land use is specialized education. And so at issue, or some of the discussion relates to the actual lot configurations. So as you can see from the graphic, Lot D is where the building's located, and Lot E to the east has additional parking that's shared between the tenants. So the Russian School of Mathematics is requesting the approval of a land use permit for an after-school program for up to 94 students, and that's in that existing building on Lot D. During the review, there were parking concerns related to the approved number of parking spaces and the fact that a portion of them were not very well maintained. They were hard to delineate. And there is shared parking between all the property owners in this complex. So at the March 3rd public hearing meeting, the Planning Commission asked the applicant to either prepare a parking demand analysis showing that the additional parking spaces that were no longer represented on the ground were not needed, basically lessen the parking demand, or make arrangements to have the missing spaces striped on Lot E. So the end result was Lot E was restriped consistent with prior approvals, and the total number of parking spaces matched what was in the records for the property. And then on July 21st, 2020, the Planning Commission approved the resolution for the project. And then on July 30th, we received an appeal from representatives of the ownership of Lot E. And so the grounds for the appeal were stated as San Ramon's failure to follow due process. The applicant had committed fraud in their processing of their application. San Ramon's actions constituted a taking, and Jerry Killar retains title to Lot E. So just a brief response to each of those things. Regarding the due process, authorizations for the applications was verified as part of the review process for planning services. The ownership of Lot E is actually unrelated to the land use permit on the adjacent Lot D. So the applicants for Lot D were represented on the applications. Regarding fraud, there's no claim of ownership from for parcel E or Lot E by the applicant. Shared parking rights and CC&Rs are enforceable between the private property owners, but not something the city would get directly involved in. And again, these are understandings between private parties as to how the property functions and would operate. Regarding the claim that the action constitutes a taking, the land use, property rights, and obligations of Lot E have not changed as a result of the land use permit approved by the city on Lot D. Essentially, the conditions are the same as they've been for many years. And the only restrictions that are on the property are related to zoning and any CC&Rs or shared property rights between property owners. And then lastly, Jerry Killar retains title to Lot E. That wasn't in question from the standpoint of the city. It's not related to the approvals of the land use permit on Lot D. So from staff's perspective, this appears to be a conflict between private property owners regarding the use and rights retained, or excuse me, related to the shared parking and CC&Rs. So staff's recommendation at this point is to open the public hearing and receive public testimony from the appellant, the applicant, and anybody else that would like to provide comments, close the public hearing and discuss and deliberate. The staff has prepared a resolution upholding the Planning Commission approval and thereby approving the Russian School of Math and denying the appeal. So with that, again, I'm available for questions. Shinye is also here, and then perhaps we can bring in the appellant and the applicant itself. And so I'm going to stop sharing.
So at this point, we want to go to public comment first, Martin?
Yes, and maybe I should, maybe this would be a good time to go over the procedure for the evening. At this point, the order of the presenters, once you've opened the public hearing, would be that the appellant gets a chance to present his case, followed by the applicant, and then anyone who is, any other party that might be interested, third parties, et cetera. And then once everyone else has had a chance to speak, then the appellant should get just a couple of minutes for a brief rebuttal. And then after that, we'll require a motion to close the public hearing. And then once that public hearing has been closed, then we can go over the council options from that point forward.
Thank you. So at this time, we will open the hearing for a public comment, starting with the party that appealed, correct?
I believe that's Mr. Richards with his hand up right now.
Christina, over to you.
I'm promoting him into the meeting right now.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Vice Mayor, City Council, City of San Ramon. My name is John Richards. I'm an attorney for both Connie Kalar, who owns a neighboring property, and Jerry Yanku, who is the daughter of Jerry Kalar, to be administrator of the estate of Lot E that was just presented to you. I'm faced with the difficult task of getting the City Council to change its mind about this and change the proposed order or resolution that is there. And the question really is does the City of San Ramon have the right to take or my client's real property rights? And obviously we would contend that you don't and you shouldn't. One thing I'd like to point out to you is in the appeal, I don't know if you have it in front of you, but it was important in Mr. Barr's presentation that the March 3rd ruling said that the applicant needed to go back and restripe or destripe some portions of Lot E, which is my client's property. So if you look at Exhibit A in my in my appeal, it's also the first picture of the lots that Mr. Barr presented earlier. And what you'll see there is Lot E has about 1/3 of a parking lot, and then the rest of it is dirt. And that's what it looked like March 3rd and before June, as a matter of fact. As a result of that March 3rd ruling, if you go to Exhibit B on my exhibit, you'll see that the rest of Lot E was not only graded, but paved and then marked with parking for parking. And so based on the ruling on March 3rd, the rest of my client's property on Lot E was paved over in part for parking. And those spaces are part of the necessary spaces for this project. And so I wanted to also point out part of the reason that the problem here is this taking of these extra spaces is not allowable, and it's not allowable even in a plain language under the CC&Rs. In 1987, December 30th, 1987, this is Exhibit F of my appeal. There was an agreement for maintenance and building exteriors. This was part of, again, the package that Mr. Barr was evaluating, or his group. And I'm just going to read part of it to you and show it to you. But page 2, part 3 says, the tentative map for the property shows the anticipated layout of the buildings, landscaping, and parking lot areas for the property. That was the definition basically incorporated into all the documents, including the CC&Rs for what the parking lot area is. If you go to that Exhibit B, it actually shows a building where there's now parking spaces. It was always the intent, the public record shows that there was always the intent for my client to be able to build a building in that. It was never part of the definition of parking spaces. And right now, again, based on the March 3rd ruling, that's all parking now. My client can't build anything on it. The second thing I wanted to go over for is like the March 3rd ruling doesn't say, well, you need to build a parking garage on your own property in Lot D. It says, go to Lot E, Jerry Kalar's property, and build more parking spaces. And again, in reference to the CC&Rs, there's nothing in the CC&Rs that enables that HOA to take my client's property for a different use. It says that they are enabled to maintain the parking spaces. Again, the parking spaces refers to the area, a different area than what has been taken. So I have two more points. Main points is the fallacy here is that, again, in the proposed resolution is that there has been no injury to my client's property. In one portion of the resolution, it says we have decided that this doesn't injure anybody's property. It's not material, detrimental, or injurious to property. And yet, and then it goes on to say, it's not really any of our business, this private agreement between neighbors. I just think it's based on a plain misreading of the CCNRs. It should be clear that this is outside of the rights of what the city of San Ramon can do. And a couple of hypotheticals here is like, now that my client's property is completely taken with parking, does he have a right to build a fence wherever he wants to on his own property? Well, no, there's a permitted parking area that was granted by the city of San Ramon. Can he repave it himself or tear up the paving that's there? Well, no, the city of San Ramon has taken that from him. Can he build a retaining wall? What is it, under 2 feet? That's allowable? No, he can't do that. His right to use his own land has been taken away. And so the bottom line is this application was done, and it says that they are the owner of Lot E. It says that in the application, and that's wrong. It's a misrepresentation. It was hidden in the documentation. They have no easement over the lot E. That's plain and clear from the language, even in the resolution. In addition to that, it's kind of like my client has a hole in the bucket syndrome. The permit here will not be properly issued if it is issued. Problem is that the CCNR say that all the parties to the HOA must follow all the rules and regulations and permitting of the city of San Ramon. So again, if this permit is improperly issued, my client under this private agreement may lose rights to actually ever develop it again. And so I do disagree with the resolution that says that this doesn't affect my client's property rights. And with that, that's the conclusion of my initial comments. Thank you. I'll mute.
So Martin, thank you. Martin, Council Member Hudson does have his hand raised. Does he ask those questions now if he's got a question, or do we wait?
If he has a question for the appellant, he may ask it at any time.
If I have the floor, let me, I think to try and take on all 4 of these at once is folly, but while it's here, I want to make sure that I can get some clarity from Mr. Richards. According to what I'm reading on your appeal, Mr. Richards, the 4th paragraph down says, because the city of San Ramon failed to require and review the proper documentation showing ownership and or right to use the property. And I'm looking at the or right to use the property, which I'm assuming is Lot E, parking spaces. Then I'm going to page 135 in the first paragraph where there's the response. And I want to be clear, and I'll get to my question. It says the association in section 3.4 of maintenance of the CCNRs, the association shall be responsible for maintenance, repair, replacement, painting, and upkeep of those portions of the project which constitute parking area. And I assume that includes Lot E. So what I'm asking is, don't the CCNRs say that the parking lot belongs to all the members of all the owners of those 5 lots?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Hudson. I will draw the distinction between create and maintain. So creation of parking spaces by grading, paving, and lining up is different than maintaining. Maintaining is drawing lines. So again, if you look at my exhibits, A shows a dirt lot. B shows they took an area and added parking spaces, paved it, graded it, all that stuff.
Okay.
Again, if we go back to this 1987 map. Sorry, it's
Mhm.
a show without sharing the screen.
Yeah, I was here.
I'm sorry.
I was here. I know what it looked like.
Thank you. It shows a building where there's now parking spaces. So if we're talking about, in that section 3.4 that you noted, I believe, give me one moment here, sir.
Okay.
Parking areas is capitalized. It's like using a proper name. Parking areas defined in the prior document 1987 does not include where that building was proposed to be.
Well, the project area goes back to the CCNRs when this thing was built. It's long before this time. But again, I just want to point out, this says the association is responsible for maintenance, repair, replacement, painting, and upkeeping of those portions of the project which constitute the parking area. And that's from whenever this was built. I want to say the 60s, but it's been around almost as long as the golf course. So, I mean, they do have the responsibility of painting, what is what I read there. But if I'm wrong, that's just the first item. I just wanted to bring it up, and I'll let it go, and you've answered it, and we'll see where others are.
May I, sir, just clarify? So the document you're reading from is from 1988. The document that I'm reading from is the preceding document from 1987. So, and I would say that there's a distinction between creation and maintaining. That's it.
Can I ask a question? Are you saying that there was no parking lot? There was no paving where there is now paving? There was no paving on March 2nd and there's now paving? Or that the parking spaces were painted? You're saying that they laid asphalt sometime this year?
Yes, sir. Yes. So again, the first picture that Mr. Barr showed, and then my exhibit A show that area that is now parking was dirt. It's a dirt lot.
But that was 33 years ago, wasn't it? I mean, that black and white picture, or do you have something?
Exhibit A, that's this year.
Okay.
Paved as a result of the March 3rd ruling.
Thank you. Go ahead. Scott, you got a question?
Yeah. In the 1969 to 72 timeframe, when this was originally built, I'd like to ask, was there ever paving in that location? I seem to believe there was. I've walked through there. This is based upon there was a proposal many years ago to build some senior housing in that area. And so I walked the area, and I seem to remember it was in very poor condition, but my recollection is that there was paving on that far eastern end. Now, it didn't go all the way to the fence line. There was some dirt beyond the edge of that paving, both to the east and the south. But my recollection is that there was paving in very bad condition. Mr. Barr or Mr. Richards?
Are you trying to say that there's a public easement there as a result of the issue in 1969?
No, I'm saying that there was paving in that area. I walked that area, oh gosh, Dave, when was that? 8-10 years ago? We were looking at some senior housing thing there.
Like 15 or 20.
Maybe it's 15. It couldn't be more than 20 because I've only been here 17 years, or in the council 17 years. So, but it was in the last 17 years, I've walked that because there was a proposed project. And my recollection is that there was paving, very poor condition, but paving nonetheless, in that eastern portion.
Through the chair, maybe we can hear from the applicant and the property owner and the association representatives that perhaps did the work, and they can clarify their position.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's do that.
So I'm not sure, is David representing the applicant, or, because I see Raj as the owner of Building C, but I don't believe he's the applicant for Russian School of Math. So can we bring in David?
I'm promoting him right now.
Hi, David.
Good evening, council members and mayors and city vice mayor. My name is David Paley. I'm director of business development for Russian School of Mathematics. I've also, if I could ask to bring in Raj and Darshan, who are the owners of Building D, and they did the work for the paving. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure if they did the paving, but I'm pretty sure they did the restriping. As I recall, when I was there, late last year, earlier this year, there was some paving done prior. It was in poor condition, but you know, when we applied for project, and we were let know that as it stands right now, without parking lot E, there was not enough parking spaces, not only for our project but for existing businesses within the community, within the association. And actually, as far as I recall, and Raj and Darshan can correct me if I'm wrong, back in 2016, when there was a minor use permit application for Kuman, which is in the building that represented one of the owners of the Lot E, part of their condition was to maintain and restripe the parking lot E, which hasn't been done. So, based on CC9, my understanding, the association has the right, and the city should have enforced them to comply with the latest minor use permit, which was done in 2016. But I digress, and I would Raj Patel and Darshan Patel to elaborate more on that.
I'm Raj Patel. Raise your hand.
Go ahead, Raj.
Hi, thank you, Vice Mayor and members of the council, for allowing me to speak to you today on this. I'm sorry to regurgitate this, but I just need to put some points of clarification so that we can get points very clear on this. Sorry, I just need to start my video. Okay. Yeah, so I was just listening to what Mr. Richards was talking about, and I think I had something which I wanted to speak of, which I wanted to say, but I'm just going to divert from that because I think most of the items that he's talking about are just patently false narratives. Just to go quickly to answer on the paving, the car park, the parking lot, which covers for the entire complex and covers the Lot E, that parking lot has had the same footprint for the last 30 years, the entire parking lot, including what was unpaved. In fact, his own client, Ms. Constance, wrote a letter to the city in 2016. I have a copy of it here, confirming that when they blocked it off and so on. And I'm sure quite a few of the members of the council probably are aware of that. So it is blatantly false that part of Lot E was recently retarred and made into a parking lot. The parking lot for the entire complex already existed. What had happened was that the association had not striped or maintained the entire parking lot in requirement of city zoning requirements. And in order to get this approval, the city required the completion of the existing footprint parking lot. There was absolutely no expansion, no new parking lot created, etc., which Mr. Richards alluded to. So the other thing he very quickly mentioned was that the parking spaces that were created, that were striped in the parking lot, were specifically for, or the way he said it, was specifically for our tenants' application, which is again false. Our tenants' application and their requirement of parking falls within the 168 parking slots that have been required by the city for 30 years, since 1988. And those parking slots are over the entire parking area, which includes 44 parking slots which were not paved, which the association did a couple of weeks ago. And so to be in compliance with the full 168, in fact, there's now 178 parking slots on the complex. So the other thing that he had here was the intent of building had nothing to do with the parking spaces, yeah? And so the application also by our tenant was for the land use permit for tenants which were already there. There was no additional parking needed for them. This was just to put everything into order. And now going into the CCNRs. The CCNRs are in existence since 1988. In addition to the CCNRs, we have a maintenance agreement. And I'm just regurgitating this. Unfortunately, it's just going to be a repeat, but everybody, I think a lot of council members know about it. We have a maintenance agreement, which we have to abide by. And it's under this maintenance agreement that the association did the restriping currently. Then we, while I have the podium, so to speak, I wanted to just mention a few things that Mr. Richards so nicely puts in his appeal, where he's talking about the applicant committing fraud. The applicant is our tenant, which is the Russian School of Mathematics. They made an application for a land use permit. We as owners did not make an application. And why would they want to make an application for Lot E, which is purporting to defend or purporting to have this great interest for? So and then I wanted to just mention in there that the association undertook the repaving, the restriping, and the maintenance of the remaining parking lot in accordance with the CCNR rights that they have. And it's clear as daylight by the very documentation that has been submitted by Mr. Richards, that the association has complete rights over ensuring the parking facilities for all the complex members. Then he talks about his clients, and just to put the record straight, in his letter, he says that he is representing Miss Connie Killa, who is a neighboring client. He does not represent Mr. Jerry Killa, who is of late. He continuously talks about my client has been done this and my client has done that, but can he categorically say that he is representing Mr. Jerry Killa? Because as far as I know, and as far as my lawyers know, that this is currently in the court, Contra Costa probate court. And Jerry Killa is not a client, as he says. Anyway, so these are just a couple of points that I wanted to do. I did send my letter in to the councillors and the mayor, and I'm open to anything you would like to ask me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Darshan?
Hi, yeah. My name is Darshan Patel. So I act as the association president. So what I'd like to mention is that we did have a meeting on August 14th with Connie Kilar's husband, Mr. Tim Hall. And just in terms of saying that, I would like to put on record that the association has clearly stated in their meetings and before to all members that they are welcoming any development by the owner of the vacant lot E. As previously they've applied for senior housing, never went through with it. They applied for office building, I believe back in the 80s, never went through with it. So the discussion in regards to not being able to develop is incorrect, because the association has clearly stated that the owner of Lot E is more than welcome to present a plan, so long as it provides clarity and follows the CCNRs and of course the City of San Ramon development guidelines, just as all owners in the complex would have to do. So I just wanted to set that straight in addressing the point of redevelopment of that lot. The current spaces provided, as again reiterated in the staff report, benefit all owners within the complex and on all 5 lots. That's all I have to say, and I'm here for questions. Thank you.
I have one, Vice Mayor, if I may jump in.
Please go ahead.
I'm going to ask the same question I asked Mr. Richards on it's page 135 of the staff report, and I'm reading this. Further, section 3.4, maintenance of the CCNR states that the association shall be responsible for maintenance, repair, replacement, painting, and upkeep of those portions of the project which constitute parking area. It doesn't say paid parking area, it just says parking area. I mean, do you believe that you had the responsibility to do what you did? Is what I'm asking. That you and the Planning Commission, or however, the paving that you did and the striping was in complete accord with how you do business?
Yes. The parking required for all buildings, restriping and parking, number of stalls required.
Well, it's even better in Ontario, but thank you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. So the paving and restriping completed follows the maintenance agreement and fulfills all the parking requirements, including Mr. Richards' client in building B across in the complex. So all owners benefit from the parking. The parking was restriped. It wasn't a new parking. It was always there. Parking islands were there. Maintenance of certain concrete areas were required, but the restriping was always there and needed.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Could I clarify a couple of things? I think, Darshan, you said that it was strictly restriping. Someone else said that there was also, was the lot that was, had work done on it, paving done on it, was it previously was it all paved or just part of it?
No, it was all paved, and just a portion of it was maintained and restriped.
So it was a goodly portion of it would I guess have a pavement management index of 5 or something. Scott, would that be the number out of 100 or something like? So it was a parking lot that was just like a road falling apart because it wasn't being maintained.
Correct. Correct. It was there. It's always been there, and it was maintained.
The agreement or the requirement of the city, the agreement with the Property Owners Association is that there should be somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think you said 168 parking spaces. Is that correct?
Correct. 168 parking spaces required for all uses within the complex.
And to the extent that there's 178 now, it just because when you restriped it, it came out to 178. Is that where that difference in number came from?
Correct. There was already space for 178. The parking islands were already there and have been there.
Just to clarify, the demand for the current usage in the center is 168 out of 178 that were to be provided.
Thank you, Lauren. Okay.
Councilmember Perkins, you had a question?
We also have an open public hearing still with other people wanting to speak.
Okay. So should we go to that? And I see an owner and somebody, GICHIUGI.
Vice Mayor, we have 2 written comments for this item as well as requests to speak. So your preference as to which public comment you'd like to take first.
I think let's have people that have raised their hands speak, and then we can read out the comments.
Okay. So Jay Ichi.
Can you hear me okay? I guess I'm probably the most insignificant. First of all, good evening, Madam Vice Mayor and ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Ichiuji. I'm a dentist and owner of the property. It would be the building D there. And like some of you gentlemen, I'm probably one of the oldest people around there because I've been a tenant there since 1981, and I've been an owner since about 1992. And I find it interesting, and I feel a couple of things need to be said is I don't understand this fighting among the homeowners, why it should be come to the city. That the city has a requirement for a school to go in, and I think that's fairly straightforward. I feel bad for Mr. Richards, who has to represent a party who is has a certain motivation, which has been contrary to very inconsistent. Up until about maybe 2010, she was the owner of the large building, Building B and Lot E, which made her the majority owner. And she could have done just about anything she wanted as president and majority voter of the Homeowners Association. And during that time, there was almost no maintenance of the lot. And I can assure you, Mr. Richards, that since I've been a tenant there since 1991, that parking lot has not been changed in terms of footing. Recently, about 2 months ago, I believe it was, we paid $34,000 to have it, the trees, the roots removed, the paving repaired, sealed and striped. It's been very frustrating because I believe it was in 2016, Ms. Klar was brought before the Planning Commission and wondered why she put a fence up in between there. And as you can reflect in your notes there, her response was that she didn't know why she put it up there. And then of course the city gave her 30 days to take it down, which it was, which of course later on we had then painting put on there saying no parking, do not cross this line, which we had to have removed. So as an owner, and a homeowner, I'm frustrated with the amount of money that we have to spend on this attempt where, for the record, we said she could go ahead and build whatever she wants as long as it's through due process and not by threatening lawyers and lawsuits. Mr. Hall has threatened to sue us a number of times, and you know, it's frustrating. And he's very boisterous about what he'd like to try and do. And but that's a separate issue. And I look forward to having the Russian School of Math as neighbors. Some of the representatives they rent a smaller space. They've been very kind and very courteous and very professional. The children don't run around. So we look forward to having them as neighbors. So I welcome any questions as somebody that's been there a long time. In fact, the original developer of that building, Harry Brunel, who built that, was one of my patients.
I have a question for this speaker.
Yes,
Please go ahead.
In your recollection, did the paving at one time go nearly to the eastern boundary of the property?
The paving has literally not the outline of the parking has not changed since I've been there in 1991. It has become dilapidated. And again, we had to spend a lot of money to bring it up to code. I don't think it would have survived, met your requirements to just have painted stripes on falling apart asphalt.
Okay, thank you very much. That was
In
my
other words, the outline was identical.
that was my recollection, except for a small portion to the very northeast and a small portion to the very southeast was still dirt, but the vast majority of that eastern end was paved at one time, but allowed to deteriorate.
Mr. Perkins, I can assure you that there's been no increase in area. It may have looked like dirt. There were literally plants growing on it. We had to have those the ice plant chopped off the asphalt, not off of dirt, and then removed there. So I think the estate of Mr. Killar ought to be appreciative of improving the value of the lot there and for the appearance there. And again, we're contrary to what's being alleged here, we are not denying any type of development of it there.
Yeah, my understanding also was that there were islands to the north and south of each parking series of parking spaces, and those islands, or those end cap islands, extend all the way to the eastern end. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. If nobody else has a question, then can we promote the owner?
Sounds good.
The next is listed as owner. If you could state your name, please.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Actually, I'm representing the owner, and it's Jerry Yonku. Jerry Yonku is the daughter of Jerry Killar. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. For one, I want to make two points. One, as far as them allowing, or the CC&Rs allowing them, or saying that they would let building go on to the property. The CC&Rs state that there is no overnight residency allowed, and they said they will never allow that. Well, the city of San Ramon has a senior overlay housing there. There's a conflict there. They're saying, yes, we'll let you develop it, but we will never let you have senior housing overnight there. So, I mean, by telling us you'll let us develop it, that's worthless. You know, it conflicts with the city of San Ramon overall plan is for that. For another, there is supposed to be shared parking throughout that. 1/3 of that Lot E has always been sealed and always been striped for the shared parking. For another, there's been 4 parking surveys done showing that you can go ahead and put that many stalls. They'll have to redirect and do some restriping there to put the same amount of stalls in and not affect the area that's to be developed. But instead of doing it, it would cost a little bit more. They take the easy way and just stripe and seal the whole lot, eliminating the area that was there for development, when you could have put that amount of stalls on the property that has already been shared. The 1/3 of Lot E has always been shared. They just have to redirect it. There's been 4 parking studies there. We had the parking studies. We tried to show them the new layout, but it was costly. So when Mr. Killar, Jerry, passed away, all of a sudden they walked in took the property, sealed it, striped it, and went over the whole footprint where the building's supposed to be. So, you know, and then to go ahead and say, you know, oh, well, we'll let you develop it, but only if it is not overnight residency. And the city of San Ramon requests that it is a senior overlay. I don't know what much else to say than that. There's 1/3 of that lot that was always, if you look at the property line and the layout there, 1/3 of that lot, and Lauren Barr is well aware of it, 1/3 of that lot was always sealed and striped. The other part was not ever sealed and striped because it was going to be developed. And that is why you wonder why the association never ever maintained it before this time. Well, they never maintained it because they were aware that that was to be developed. The 1/3 that they did seal and stripe and they always helped pay to do is the part of the shared parking that the Jerry Killar put towards the shared parking. Doesn't mean your whole lot is going to be shared parking. Then let's knock down the other buildings and make it all a parking lot. That's about it, and that's where we're going with it. You know.
Thank you. I believe Mr. Blickenstaff, and because this is public comment, we do ask you to keep it to 3 minutes or under. I see Mr. Blickenstaff's hand raised, so have him speak.
Yes, as long as you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, too bad for you. Some obvious things come to the mind here that I think the city would want to really clarify. Unfortunately, Lot E is not public land. It's privately owned. So you have a whole set of criteria here that if it was owned by the city, this would be resolved and wouldn't have even been appealed. But now you have the issue of private ownership rights. And that is in obvious dispute. And I think the problem with that is that the CC&Rs do not resolve it. The CC&Rs direct an implication of what's allowable, but they do not say, they do not include expansion. They say maintenance and striping and the things you could do on the 1/3 that's already parking. But they do not clarify that this privately owned property can be expanded, especially as a result of a development on another property that now apparently needs to have this private property expanded to qualify for their parking needs. So at that point, I think the dispute is removed from the CCR to some degree. And I think the city would be wise to go back and actually clarify what is the usage of E, and has there been an encumbrance put on that usage by this parking lot being expanded to pretty much cover Lot E? Because at that point, it sounds like, well, that's in place, that was done, apparently not at the wishes of the property owner, but because of other needs. So I see the real issue here is understanding, appreciating, and getting the correct documentation on the property rights of the owner of E, and making sure very clear for the city that that document is available that says through the association, everybody, they have a right to complete a parking lot throughout that whole property. Because at first glance, that looks a little odd when it's not public property, it's private property. And it also seems to preclude usage of that property for the current property owner. So I think the city would be wise to clarify that and make sure they're in good standing, because right now it continues to look like a dispute to me. Thank you.
So I see Mr. Raj and Mr. David raising their hand, but Christina, we need to wrap up the public comment before we, or Martin, before we allow Mr. Raj and David to speak again, or?
If we're talking about, if we're now down to the appellant's rebuttal, we'll leave the public hearing open until after the appellant has had the opportunity to do so.
Ms. Carr would like to speak.
Yeah,
And we still have 2 written comments for the item as well.
exactly. Yep.
Always need to unmute. Am I to speak next?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
you are.
okay. Thank you. Yes, I just to kind of follow along with what Mr. Blickenstaff said, I'm sitting here listening to this, and what goes through my mind is there's just looks to be confusion. There's a lot of information that needs to be studied and really looked at carefully before a decision can be made on this. So please do not jump into a decision tonight when there are so many question marks on this whole deal. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Christina, anybody else wanting to speak from the public?
It doesn't appear anyone else has raised their hand, but I do have 2 written comments for this item.
Thank you.
I can read those right now. The first is from Wilma Shannon. I own the home at the end of the court. At the end of the court at Dogwood Place in San Ramon, my property is fully exposed to the proposed application of the Russian School of Mathematics. The applicant states that they are seeking approval for an after-school math enrichment program. In the request, it further states that they are including Saturday and Sunday 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. This does not appear to just be an after-school program including Saturday and Sunday. I have many concerns, and my biggest is for the safety of the senior residential community of Sunny Glen. The villas are also located within Sunny Glen. Sunny Glen has been a quiet, safe area for seniors in their homes. It is a short walking and driving distance to the shopping and the senior center. The seniors are able to remain in the comfort and privacy of their home while receiving outside services when and if necessary. Some may retire for the evening at 9 p.m. or possibly before. The fire department is located at the corner of Alcosta and Fircrest Lane, the only entrance and exit of Sunny Glen. The fire department does not show on the Google map. Does this not pose a problem for emergency responders? Will the increase in traffic make this more difficult and less safe for all? If this project were approved, it would greatly impact the senior housing overlay and surrounding area. Its safety, increased traffic, automobile fumes with an environmental impact, headlights of cars entering and exiting, noise, car engines running while parents wait in cars, and hindrance for the fire department. The coronavirus has made it difficult to reach out to those not knowing about this project and difficult for them to participate. If this project is being considered, I strongly suggest a privacy sound wall to be erected throughout the entire parking lots bordering Sunny Glen. Also, 24/7 hour security in parking lots and permit is conditioned that the only parking is on the east side of Building C and entering and exiting from Alcosta Boulevard only. Please give this application your full diligence, as the city of San Ramon has always taken great pride in their city. The next comment is from Kenwal Raja from representing Best Brains. We are an existing learning center at 9260 Acosta Boulevard, Best Brains, and I am writing to raise concerns below. Please note the intent of this concern is in no way to prevent Russian School of Math from obtaining approval. We have been a tenant in Unit 17A for over 5 years. We are in the process of opening. We were given restricted occupancy stating parking issues in the area and were told that existing tenants had priority over us. We were also initially told we cannot operate on Tuesdays. Number 2, we appealed to the city later as our existing space has an occupancy load of close to 100 and requested the city to allow us to use our space to a greater capacity, even though we had assured the city this wouldn't affect traffic. We were told regardless that a traffic parking study would need to be conducted. While we were open to taking the notes of spaces occupied during our proposed hours, we were told that the study needed to be done by a professional only, which was going to be a very costly project. Number 3, it has just come to our attention today that restriping of the parking lot was approved, which would open more parking for us. I believe it is only fair to let us use our space to the capacity we have requested, that the sufficient parking is now clearly available. I believe we should be given priority as an existing tenant, just like other tenants were given priority over us in the past. We are open to submitting another application of expansion if needed. We also request the city to not prevent any approvals for the Russian School of Math, but to simply take into account the parking spaces we would need to make the most of our space and to have our expansion approved at our max capacity load. That was all the written comment I have.
Thank you. Councilmember Perkins, you have your hand raised.
Okay, Lauren, am I correct in my understanding that when that the portion of the east lot E where the new striping is been laid down was in the past parking, or was created as parking spaces at some time in the past?
That is my understanding. At one point, there had been a proposal for a building on that site, which would also benefit from shared parking, but it never went forward. And that's way prior to the senior housing concept of a few years ago. But in the interim, it's been parking in various states of disrepair that benefits everyone. The parking demand analysis on the center is based on a peak use formula. So that's the reason why schedules do matter in terms of the mix of uses in there. We can't have all the tutoring uses in there at the same time. Otherwise, there would not be adequate parking. Therefore, as conditions of approval, they go in with modified schedules that they propose that work with the surrounding land uses and property owners. If they want to amend their parking requirements, they can come back through the process and do a shared parking analysis based on current conditions.
Okay, I had looked at an aerial view on Google earlier, and it appeared to me that that far eastern portion had been paved at one time, and it shows islands at the north end and south end that are consistent with the islands on the western portion of that. They line up in a row, if you will. You know, there's 5 or 6 of them that line up in a row. So it appears that it was intended to be parking, and it was paved as parking. And when I walked it 10 years ago or so, it was paved, but the pavement was in poor condition. That was my observation. Thank you.
So Martin, do we hear from the appellant now?
If that's all the speakers, then yes, if the appellant wants to take 2 or 3 minutes to rebut any of the testimony he's heard, he may do so.
Well, Martin, I was going to say, if everybody's fine with that, give the council about 5 minutes since we are at 9:33. If you guys want it, take a 5-minute break and come back. If not, we can continue.
I'd like to hear a few minutes from the appellant and then take a break. Would that be okay, Sabina?
Sounds good. Let's do that.
I might suggest that we take the vote to close the public hearing once we've heard from the appellant and then take the break.
I was going to.
Oh, very good.
Madam Vice Mayor, other members of the City Council, thank you for taking the time tonight to talk to us all about this. And just to clarify, this is recorded, correct? The statements made here are recorded? Thank you, Mr. Patel and Mr. Patels for making your statements, because we'll be sure to use those later on. I mean, we're talking about whether the city has a right to go on private property and mandate it be used for parking. It's obvious from the photos that Mr. Barr showed. And if you listen to what the other people said, they actually went and paved off 2/3 of this property this spring. I see Mr. Patel shaking his head, but it's just not accurate. You look at the pictures presented, even by Mr. Barr, it shows it was dirt. And whether it happened to be partially paved 10 years ago or not is not relevant. It's obvious from the documents, it shows that it was intended to be developed as a building, and that was the agreement. The parking areas, quote unquote, capitalized, were other parts, the 1/3 of this Lot E. So, but no other comments unless there's questions. I don't see any.
I don't have any.
I move we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Right, do we need to take a vote right now, Christina, to close this, or
Yes, roll call vote, please.
roll call vote? Please?
Councilmember Hudson,
Aye.
Councilmember Alone, Councilmember Perkins,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Zafar,
Aye.
thank you, and Mayor Clarkson has recused himself. So it passes 4-0.
So back at 9:40, Sabina, is that what you're suggesting?
AM or PM?
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Are you guys good with that? All right, we'll be back in 5 minutes.
So are we done? Am I done?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Am I done? Do you want me to leave?
We're just taking a break. We're going to come back and deliberate if that's what you're asking.
Okay, am I part of the deliberation?
No, you don't have to be here. I don't think so.
Yeah, if you want to sit in here, you can.
Yeah.
But if you want to leave, you can also.
Okay, thank you.
Christina, I think we have everybody back. Martin, is Lauren going to present something more, or do we just go into deliberation now?
I think at this point you can go into deliberation and questions of staff if you have any.
I would like Lauren to put up the slide that had the 4 elements of the appeal and
Okay.
the
You know what? Let's get back into open session before we make this discussion. We'll do that.
Are we in open session or?
As soon as you
or if you say we are,
begin us again.
We are back from the break and in open session.
Perfect.
Thank you. I have 2 hands raised by Councilmember Perkins and Councilmember Hudson.
Let Dave go first.
Okay, actually, I think, Scott, what you're looking for is exactly what I have in front of me, and it's where I'm going. We heard a lot tonight, but this is an appeal is specific to the following. And that's the 4 things that Councilmember Perkins asked to be put up. The first one is the first one that I asked the attorney for the appellant about, San Ramon's failure to follow due process. And I read at the time, because the city of San Ramon failed to require and review the proper documentation showing ownership and or right to use the property. Now he's talking about E. And then I read the association shall be responsible for maintenance, repair, replacement, painting and upkeep of those portions of the project which constitute the parking area, whether it's paved or not, it's the parking area. They got responsibility for it.
So Dave, if for a quick second, I can ask Lauren to put up that slide that Councilmember Perkins asked, since you're looking at it.
It's page 129.
Well, I was asking Lauren to put that up for everybody's benefit. They can-
Yes.
Yeah, we see your email right now.
Yeah,
Is that
it's
the right
page
one?
129.
Sorry.
It was,
Hold on.
you had a slide that had the 4 items and then had a brief.
It's page 129.
No, Dave, it's not. It's Lauren's presentation that I was.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
This
That-
one right here.
That one.
yes.
Either this one or the response.
The one with the response on it. Thank you. Yeah, that one. Thank you. Okay, if we could just leave that up while we're having the discussion.
Okay.
Because we have to either agree with or not agree with each of those 4 things. Dave was talking about number 1.
Yep.
Please, I don't mean to interrupt you, Dave, but I
Oh,
just,
nope, no problem. I see where you're going. I'm reading it straight off of the staff report. That's why. And what the answers were. So where I disagree with the speakers, I think it's very clear that the association has the responsibility. Also, the applicant has committed fraud because he says that both the ownership of the property and the right to repave it were claimed by Concord Hospitality Partners. It's the exact opposite. They said they don't own the property. And throughout every response in the 10 pages we have in the staff report, it's the association. In fact, you go down to the response that in the staff report, as the successor of Alcosta Medical Arts Complex, which later became Alcosta Medical Arts Plaza, is required to adhere to the maintenance agreement which runs with the property. It's always been there. The next thing is San Ramon's action constitutes a taking. I think he answered that question when he said, or actually Jim Blickenstaff brought it up too, that you're talking about a private matter, but no, that isn't it. It's where he talks about taking a private property to be taken for public use, and we're not using it. I mean, we're not taking this thing. But I guarantee if you go down a little further where it mentions the words eminent domain, there isn't a property owner around that doesn't pray that you take his property eminent domain, because when that appraisal comes in at highest and best use, and you can go 125% above it, you're going to smile all the way to the bank. We didn't take anything. It is not a taking. And the last thing is, I don't even know why it's in there, but obviously Jerry Killar retains title to Lot E. This isn't about Lot E. It's about Lot D. And in my opinion, there's no basis for any one of the four for us to do anything but deny the appeal.
Councilmember Perkins.
You know, Dave, that's probably the most concise answer I've heard you given, at least in a couple of months, but thank you for that. You went through each of the four elements very well. You know, the due process, the staff verified all the things that needed verification. The ownership of Lot E is with Jerry Killar and the estate, and that we spoke to the owner of Lot D and the building associated with it, and the use permit is associated with Lot D and the building. And we gave them the option of doing a parking study or use our numbers and create that many parking spaces. And they chose to make that many parking spaces on existing parking lot. Now, while you can debate whether that lot, that far eastern section, had turned to dirt mostly, or whether it was in pristine condition, we can argue that, but that's not really relevant. In fact, at one point in time, it was a parking lot, and it was, it fell into disrepair because of lack of use. But the fact of the matter is, it was a parking lot, and they just restriped it to make it a parking lot. And Dave is right on. This is not a taking. The city is not taking the property or the property rights. It was a parking lot. It is a parking lot. It will continue to be a parking lot, and that's the use of it. And number four, there's no question about the ownership. So I see no basis for upholding the appeal.
Just a couple of comments, Sabina, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I was gonna call it.
Thanks. I'd just like to thank Dr. Achiugi for attending and providing some clarification about the history, because he's a member of the association and an owner, right? And there is likely some sort of dispute between owners of various lots and a property owners association. We don't need to be in the middle of that. We're being asked to up or down on these four items. I agree with Dave and Scott that we should deny the appeal for the very reasons cited.
Unless you want to speak to it, Vice Mayor Zafar, I'll make the
Yeah.
motion.
I actually had a few questions. I just wanted to clarify. So regarding number 4, the approval of this Russian school has no association with the land use where they're saying, it's not related to approval of land use permit on Lot D. So Lauren, that has no connection with it?
They're separate owners. The only relationship currently between the properties is reciprocal access and parking through the CC&Rs and the easements. But no, they're separate ownerships, and each of them have to file their own applications for any development proposals they have. In this case, it's a use that goes into an existing building. In the case of Lot E, it would be a new construction situation. And so they would have to meet all the standards that exist from the city standpoint, as well as through the CC&Rs.
So if tomorrow the Lot E folks decided to build a senior housing or something like that, is this infringing on their rights in any way by tying it to any parking?
Well, they're free to file an application tomorrow to do whatever they like on the property. Whether they can meet the development standards and whether or not they're constrained based on the prior CC&Rs is a different issue. The CC&Rs are, again, private property relationships, not city relationships. But the general consensus would be that any proposal on that would also have to benefit from shared parking with the adjacent properties, because there's just not enough room.
Okay. Anything else, Martin, we need to be taking into consideration?
Well, no, I think you've all covered it. The only thing that I might add is that, you know, it's clear from the record that there's a reciprocal parking arrangement among the association members, and that the maintenance agreement does memorialize it. The maintenance agreement, and I think it's packet page 180, actually seems to show actual parking spaces that were contemplated under the agreement. Now, the question then, so there doesn't seem to be any question whatsoever that there exist rights to use at least a portion of Lot E. The only question would be whether there's an encroachment that goes beyond what the documents give the association the right to do. And that question is strictly an issue between two private property owners. Now, the only time that the city's only interest here is whether the development as a whole is collectively adequately parked. So, so if sometime in the future, as a result of this dispute between the two private property owners, the association loses some of its right to use some of those parking spots, then the development becomes underparked. And so if there is some litigation in the future that results in a reduction of the parking area, then the city's interests are affected by that. So that is probably the only possible concern that we might have about the approval and about this dispute.
And is this a city matter? What the parking ratio to what's in those buildings, the services that are offered, is the city decides that ratio, or where does that come from?
Well, it's a combination of things. The zoning ordinance establishes a parking ratio based on type of use. And then there's alternative compliance methods such as peak use analysis and shared parking, in which you take into consideration when people will be at a particular use. Similar to what we've done in other projects where, you know, you might have, well, for example, the Summit Senior Care, you have church and a care facility that work together. So in this case, it's a little bit more technical in that they're matching up their schedules and the peak time in which their classes are being held, because this center is very heavily tutoring centers. But that's not to say that one of those uses might get replaced with something else that's less parking demand. And so it's always going to be something that we have to verify as tenants come in and out. But we rely on the core number of spaces that are supposed to be available based on the original approvals. And then we work from that point.
You know, what's interesting to me, Lauren, you just said a church, and I told you about that legislation that says you can't count the spaces for a church with the way I mean, things change legislatively, and, you know, you can't, but I think you have answered every question that is asked in these 4 specific topics correctly. And I don't see where you could come up with anything. I'd be hard pressed to come up with a reason to uphold the appeal. I couldn't with what's in here. It doesn't make sense. I mean, anyway, unless Vice Mayor Zafar has something else, I'll go ahead and make the motion.
I wanted to get clarification.
Yeah.
You've said this, that we're not treading on the rights of the private property owner as a city at all, right? This is between them.
I'll second.
Okay, I'll move to adopt resolution 2020-84 to uphold the Planning Commission resolution number 4-20, approving the Russian School of Mathematics land use permit 19-500-3 and deny the appeal.
I'll second.
Christina, will you do a roll call vote?
Roll call vote. Councilmember Hudson.
Aye.
Councilmember Alone.
Aye.
Councilmember Perkins.
Aye.
And Vice Mayor Zafar.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes 4-0.
Lauren, did you say you had something else for us to approve? Or this is it?
This is the only thing I have. Seems like
I wasn't
enough.
sure. if
Would
said
you
had
like something
prepared.
else?
It's a
I thought you said you had an appeal, you had the approval prepared, so I wasn't sure if you had to.
No, no,
doing-
it's just the one
Did the-
item tonight.
I'd just like to ask the mayor, did the A's win?
Lauren, you can ask for a pay raise about now.
Passing the gavel back to the mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Sabina.
He went to bed. Oh, there he is.
Madam Clerk, next item.
Item 13, city manager comments.
Oh.
All right, Steve, you're the man.
Great. Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. I'll try to, I'll go through this quickly. I'll try and be as brief as possible, but there's some projects that I wanted to make sure to mention because residents may be seeing some things happening around town. So as part of the joint public safety building project over at 2401 with the fire district and the police all being co-located with the new dispatch center, the first step is reconfiguring City Hall. So we're in the process this week. You'll see some construction equipment out in the City Hall parking lot where we are reconfiguring City Hall. Eventually, you will see a new permit center on the first floor, and that will be truly a one-stop shop for residents. Everything that's, of course, not PD related, but you can pull your permits, pay fees, whatever you need to do at that center. So that is now underway. Another project that residents may be seeing installed around town are the license plate reader cameras. They've been going up over the last few weeks. And from what I've been told, we're already seeing some positive results within weeks of the cameras being installed. So those are going up right now throughout town. And the third item that I wanted to mention is earlier today, Mayor Clarkson hosted a conversation with Chief Myers from the San Ramon Valley Fire Protection District and his staff, also with Captain Carlson from the San Ramon PD regarding the wildfires in the area. And just some general information, we received a lot of calls about smoke in the area and also evacuation orders. So a lot of that information we went over in the discussion, and it should be up on the social media feeds and on YouTube probably within the next couple of days. And we'll push that out to residents. But in the meantime, just as a reminder, go to the city website. You can sign up for email updates. And you know, we're pushing out information on all of our channels. And if you need to, always dial into 1610 AM. That's the emergency station for San Ramon. So if you're in your car and you want the latest updates, if there's anything critical to San Ramon, it'd be broadcast over 1610 AM. With that, I don't have any further updates.
Madam Clerk.
Item 14, public comment.
We always have a second public comment for anybody who's not yet made a public comment at the first session. Has anybody wished to address us at this session?
Please use the raise your hand button at this time if you would like to address the council during public comment.
Seeing no hands raised.
There's one.
Oh, just got one.
Yes. Sabra.
Yes, my name is Sabra Soharwardi, and I would just like to thank you for this program today, and especially acknowledging the Muslims. And that's all I want to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Looks like that may be it. I will close the public comment. Next item.
Item 15, city council members and mayor's comments.
I'll start with Dave.
Well, mine will be brief. It seems like every time we get into an election season, somebody hits you with something that just knocks you out. I got absolutely ripped, and I don't even remember bringing it up, for talking about canceling the tree lighting. But I didn't have a number to call them back and say, yeah, the city doesn't do a tree lighting. It's private, and I don't know what what the problems are or when COVID's going to end and who's going to take on that liability. But when you step back a minute and look at it, it's telling you that if we're not going to have something at Bishop Ranch, we probably should be part of getting the word out that we're not going to have a tree lighting, or that Bishop Ranch isn't going to have a tree lighting. I was amazed, but I didn't know we did a tree. I went over and actually looked for the tree that we decorated 12, 15 years ago, and it's gone. There's a redwood over there, but we can't even go out into the park and do it. So anyway, something I just assume that the responsibility for it now falls on the mayor and the city manager.
Thanks, Dave. Sabina.
Not a whole lot to say, Stephen. Thank you. Appreciate the update, and I'm looking forward to the video going up as well, because I've had quite a few people reach out about the fires. I think people are just scared and really want to know what's going on, and we become the fire department some days. So I did, I appreciate you sharing the information and sharing that out with most of the folks. There's also been a lot of just people sharing information and resharing information and packing their bags, and I know everybody's kind of been on the edge about it. So I think that's right now, that's on top of mind for everybody, the air quality and the fires. And, that's pretty much, with everything else, it's just added to the stress of, what people are going through. So I appreciate all communication that's going out, and Mayor, you having that conversation with Paige Myers.
Phil.
I just want to thank all the parents and teachers out there who are somehow slogging their way through all this. It's not easy, and I just hope everybody has a lot of patience with each other. There's a lot of learning about learning and teaching going on, and extra dose of patience is gonna help everybody. So thank you. That's it.
Scott.
I just want to thank the mayor and Steve in particular for having those every other Friday morning presentations. Those have been fantastic. Transitioning from your once a month Clementine's breakfast to those every other week, forums has really been a plus. And I'm glad to see that there's a pretty big audience for those. And Dr. Joseph is a rock star. The rest of you guys are can hold his water, but Dr. Joseph is a rock star.
That he is. In fact, we've gotten some phone calls from people who want to use him for other forums. So as long as they don't steal them away from us permanently.
No wonder we don't open up. You guys keep this guy coming back.
Nothing to add. Steve, thank you for the mention about our conversation today. It should go up another couple of days. We were hearing from a lot of residents concerned about what was going on. And was there fires here and there? One of the things that we talked about is get Pulse Point. If you have Pulse Point, you'll be notified if there are any grass fires anywhere within the fire district. One of the easiest ways to get a quick update. So it was very helpful. And Steve, thank you for quickly putting that group together. And I want to thank our captain, Denton, for being involved very much in terms of all his work around disaster preparedness up to now, and his concise summary of stuff we're doing. So he was great. We've got some real rock stars in this city, and we're really blessed. I know as council members that it's our rock star city staff people of all the positions who just make this city work so well. And I can't say enough, and I can represent the whole council through you, Steve, tonight to thank everybody for the amazing job they've been doing through this whole COVID crisis, the way they're handling their jobs, those who have to be out in public and do things, to our police officers and things they're handling, just amazing stuff, especially for those who have children who might be home, who have children who are supposed to be going to school. That's a rough balance, and I appreciate the city's attitude of giving people flexibility and the way for them to help manage that stressful process while they do their work for us. So kudos to all of you. Madam Clerk, next item.
Item 16, adjournment.
Is there a motion?
Hi.
Yay.
All those,
Christina, good night.
all those in favor? Click off.